I already pushed the button, Thomas. It's too late. You are live. We're live
Here
to
we
the world.
go. And now I am also recording. Good.
You don't have to record quite yet.
No, I mean, I'll cut it down for you, but
Okay.
I'd
Do we
rather.
see the Twitch chat in here?
I can see it. There's a on the right hand side. You have like a comments chat.
I
thing?
just can't
nice.
write
Cool.
anything, but
Oh, you can't comment.
you can see it. It says that we have eyeballs on YouTube,
Yep.
Twitch, and Periscope.
I can even can flag myself.
Oh, wow.
Fancy.
You can also just open up if you're feeling really adventurous. You can open up Twitch chat and
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'm
pop
doing.
it out and do that whole thing. Anyone out there? It is 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
6 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
I know how to do math.
101.
I know that.
100
I mean, I got
UTC.
the notification. It says DNC cast is live.
Oh, okay.
And I know Sophia's watching. So,
Shout out Sophia.
and your mom's here.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Anthony. There she is.
Yeah.
Woot. It's been a while since I've seen a woot. Can I get a woot for a
From
for
all your
woot?
moms. Mm.
W00T. That's so lead, Anthony. So lead.
Mm.
Well, hey, everyone. You notice that Sean's not here. We got two
Yes.
other fine-looking dudes.
It's not three
You
non
may know
blondes.
them from the chat. It's Poly time.
It's two non-Sean or three non-Seans.
We need to bring. Thomas.
I like Woot, Anthony.
We got to bring Woot back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool. It's coming. We could bring it back. It's back in fashion now.
Woot.
Woot.com is 5.
I can't believe it's already Thursday, you guys. This week
Dude,
has been
tell me about
so weird.
Oh man.
I had
Thursdays
Monday,
are the new
Tuesday off,
Fridays
and
for
then
me.
It's just like,
Mhm.
what?
Yeah.
Week's done.
Job's finished.
Job's done.
It's gonna be lit. Why is this weekend lit, Anthony? Doing some serverless.
No love for the yo. The yo
Because
is
of
wonderful,
reasons.
Sophia. I love the yo.
The yo.
What happened to the yo? She said yo.
Yeah.
YOOO.
Oh.
O. What was that app where all you could do was send yo?
Yo.
Yeah, it was called yo.
Yeah. Yeah. What happened to it? Still exists?
Oh.
It, I think it made it about as far as that idea is worth.
Yeah.
Actually, much further because they
But-
got investment.
Purchased but for like several $1 million or whatever. IPO'd for 10 billion, yeah.
Is there like an inverse correlation between
Unicorn.
the number of O's in your yo and like there's some kind of correlation between like how desperate you are to like make contact and how many O's you put, right? Like
Yeah.
like you can do too many, but sometimes if you just do like a yo, it's too broy. I don't know. I think I
Oh,
feel like there's a
yo up?
golden yo number.
Yo up. Here it is.
Oh,
Yo app.
Joanne's in here. Joanne is yoing in the chat. Is this still a thing?
Here it is. Wow.
We're gonna get a DNC yo going. Is that
Oh
a
my
thing?
gosh.
I don't know the terminology here.
Got the Discord and the yo.
Oh, so sad though. The app description, the first line is "Keep Yo running. Visit patreon.com/yoapp." Rip.
Oh,
saddest
Yola. Yeah. I love that Sophia went on the radio as a young child
Yola.
to all of Ottawa.
Yola.
Fantastic.
Hey,
Is that
Ross words?
Ross? Is
No, that
poutine?
That
Sorry.
is my father-in-law.
Ah.
Yes.
I-
Famous. He wrote children's cartoons. He's written stuff that you've watched.
Written stuff that I've watched.
Yes. Franklin, Caillou.
Oh.
Yeah.
Franklin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just confused because I have a friend named Ross, and we have a whole Canadian thing going. So I thought the A. I thought that might have been him.
2 Canadians in the house.
We
No.
have our Rocket League clan is called Canadian Cows, and we all have Canadian names. So I'm all just flavored chips. Ross is poutine.
Rupert
We
Bear, yeah.
have milk in a bag, and then we have Saskatoon berry pie. So that's our clan. And we're only allowed to say sorry in chat. That's the rules. Rupert Bear.
Yeah, I
that's
loved
coming
Rupert
back.
Bear. Rupert was the best.
I have to actually look at this to get the visual. Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you remember it?
Well, it was I remember were there books first? I remember the books. I think. No, maybe it was a cartoon. Boy,
I don't know.
comic strip character. That is the scraping the bottom of my mental barrel. That's right. It's sorry. 2 syllables.
Sorry. A boot.
I mean, sorry is 2 syllables.
It's okay, but it's the O. Annuals.
I've never heard it to be a boot. I always hear a boat. It's a boat.
A boat.
I think a boat, like it floats.
Yeah.
No.
A boat.
I think it's just a regional thing, though.
A boot.
It
It's
is.
more like a northern Minnesota, like Michigan thing. I mean,
Let's all talk about Thomas's family for an hour.
Yeah.
That's a normal podcast.
There's probably a podcast that is like, come on in, let's talk about your family. I have lucked out with the family that I have married into. I'm very lucky.
oh no, we got Sean in the chat.
Sean, go be married, man.
Washbot.
Slacking.
Yeah, what the heck?
Oh my god, I was just gonna ask about that, Joe. Lure.
Lure.
Jess and I always make fun of each other. I say lure.
Yeah.
She says lure.
Lure.
Like from Omnicron Persei
Like,
8.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I say it. Yeah.
Sorry, I took that joke, but
Oh. No, lure is somebody you go to help if you want to sue someone. Lure versus lure. I say lure.
Lure. Yeah. Start a whole new show on just whatever the word is for pronouncing words. I forget that word.
Is the word not just pronunciation?
Well, like there's the phonetic way of spelling out words and stuff. Like there's a whole. I can't think of it. You know, like in the dictionary, I have the weird,
Like a phonetic alphabet.
yeah, kind of thing.
Well, it seems like we have a crowd.
Yeah,
So
I think we have quorum. Shall we get this show on the road?
yes.
All right, ready?
Who's clapping?
Oh no, who's gonna clap? We got 3 options. I always do it, so I feel like one of you should do it. Thomas is all warmed up, so I think you're gonna 3, 2, 1 clap. Thomas.
But we all have. Okay, yeah. Ready?
All right, ready.
3, 2, 1. Okay.
At 80 beats per minute.
That was good.
Is
Thomas
that
and I were
right?
pretty much right in sync. Rockwell was a little behind, so that should be right.
I
on.
was not behind. You were behind.
I was not recording those. I'm really sorry about that, guys. I am recording now, though.
Diction.
one
Diction.
job.
Your mom's showing up in the chat.
Diction. Yeah, that's
Diction.
the right thing. All right,
Diction,
Thomas,
nice.
time for an encore.
Oh, wait, we got to clap again?
Yeah, I wasn't recording.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Cool.
Spot on.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Clap.
Clap. You can't just say clap. Boy, I never know how to start these things when we have guests. Because when Sean and I start, we always I always kind of edit it right in the middle of a conversation, like you just kind of walked in on a conversation. That's kind of the style of the show. But for some reason, whenever we have a guest or guests on, it's the first time we've had guests, I think. Have we done 3 people before?
Yeah,
Well, I guess
you've. No, I don't think you have because you did an interview
We've done
where it
one
was
guest
the
and 2
two of you.
hosts.
Yeah.
Right.
What
anyway.
if you share where Sean is?
Where is
wanna
Sean?
do-
Sean is in the chat.
Where is Sean?
Sean's in the chat tonight. And instead we have people in the chat on the show. That's Thomas and
Yeah.
Paul. Hi, Thomas.
Hello, I'm Thomas.
Welcome back, Paul.
Hey, good to be back. Always fun
And
to be
welcome
here.
back, Tom. Sorry. And welcome back, Thomas, as well.
Hi, I've been on once, but never with either of you.
Yeah.
Only with Sean. And tonight we have 3 non-Seans.
Non-Sean pod.
Yeah,
Very good. With their hit single.
nonchalant.
What's that song? The He-Man
It's
song.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You know it.
You know it. That's staying in.
Yeah.
So before we get into this, we have a Sean update. He's not here, but we're updating for him.
What?
Sean is not here today because Sean and Jamie just got married.
Yay!
Hooray!
Congratulations.
Insert applause. Congrats, Sean. We'll talk more about it next week, but we're all super excited for you.
Many
you
happy
kinda flew
tax
under-
returns to both of you.
That's right. You're filing jointly now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting. Sean's taking a night off to enjoy that, and yeah, we're all super excited.
Yeah, we are.
I don't know how Sean feels. Maybe he's excited too.
I imagine he's very excited. There was a lot of excitement in the Discord. Shout out to the Discord. The Discord for DNC is incredible.
It's a good time. Put a link to that in the show notes.
Put a link in the show notes.
So yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
I was gonna say there's an actual reason you invited us on this particular week, other than Sean being out and it being opportune, and that is, if you don't mind my explaining why we're here.
Please go ahead.
That is that we, Thomas and I, just participated in Ludum Dare 48, which is a video game jam that happens 2 times a year, and this was the 48th one. They've been going for quite a while now. It's pretty impressive. And this was actually a really special one because typically it is a 48-hour game jam. So Friday at 6 p.m., they announce a theme. Nobody knows what it is beforehand. There's a bunch of voting rounds and stuff. But they announce the theme, and then you have 48 hours until 6 p.m. on Sunday to create a video game. Now that's for the traditional jam, or for the traditional competition. There is also a separate version where you have teams and you get up to 72 hours instead of 48, which is what Thomas and I did. So this is something I've done a couple times before, and Thomas joined in this time. It was real fun.
And it was really my first time making a game end to end and working on that with somebody else. And Paul was great to guide me through that process. And it was awesome to collaborate with Paul. And we built something that I feel very proud of. And I got introduced to a whole new paradigm of programming. And it was an absolute blast.
That's cool. I did just play it before it came on. I have some thoughts. We'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
But Thomas, like you showed interest in this, and I'm just curious. What got you into this? Because Paul has been talking about this forever, and I know he's been excited about it. He's done it before. What were you doing here? Like, what was your thought? And how did you even, yeah. What were you?
To
what were you looking
clarify,
to get out
it
of
was.
this?
That's a good question. What was I looking to get out of this? I like to push myself to learn new things and gain new experiences. Making a video game is such an abstract thing to just jump in on. I think if you have no history doing so, you have to go and teach yourself a lot of things. And I like building things as a process for learning. That's how I learn best. Went through and did tutorials, and I read up. We built the game in Unity and using C#, which is a language that I use every day at work. I work at Microsoft, where we write a lot of C#. And even though I knew the language, the way in which it is used in the context of writing a game is very different. So yeah, I just like to push myself. It sounded like fun. I like hackathons too, outside of game development, just hacking on a project. So yeah, and I like Paul too. Paul was like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like fun."
Yeah, thanks, man. By the way, thank you for joining because I've been trying to get people in the Discord and et cetera to actually commit to this thing for years and years and years, and it was pretty cool doing a game jam with somebody else. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, how does it differ from the solo experience for you, Paul?
It was extremely different for me. Usually, I just sit down and I have like a note file, and that's the game. Like the game comes out of that note file. It's completely unorganized. It's just whatever my brain structure is. But we had a lot more touch points than I would normally have, and we had a little Kanban board going, and it was pretty. I think it was a good balance. I think we ended up in a pretty good spot. By the end, I think we were really in a flow. At the beginning, it was a little bit difficult for the ideation process. It was just kind of different, and not something I had done in that way before. But in the end, it all worked out fine.
Yeah, and so the way this works is you're allowed to bring in some previous sort of assets or libraries. You're allowed to sort of do a little prep work ahead of time, but the thing that starts at time 0 for the contest is the theme, right? Every competition has a theme, and so this year's theme or this competition's theme was deeper and deeper, right? So how did that play into, I don't know, your game design? Did it like already match with stuff you had, or like, how did you work that in?
Yeah, absolutely not. It didn't match in with anything that we had. So there are two different rule sets. Like I mentioned before, there's the competition version that is the 48-hour version, and the jam version where you can have a team, and that's the 72-hour version. In the 48-hour version, in the traditional version, you're not allowed to use any existing assets or sounds or anything like that. You can only use existing code. So you can use libraries and game engines and that sort of thing. But you can't take
mode.
like a sprite that already exists, for example, a character sprite.
Mm-hmm.
In the 72-hour version, in the team version, you are actually allowed to use pre-existing assets, but we didn't. We followed the 48-hour rules except for taking 72 hours and being in a team.
Yeah, cool.
So our first thing that we did was just hop on a call and start brainstorming ideas. We were just basically throwing bullet points out into a Notion doc, and we kind of landed on something that we were like, yeah, this seems good enough, and it fits with the theme-ish sort of. Let's go with it. And we started on that, and it was going to be like I don't even know what it was going to be. It was very poorly defined in retrospect. It was sort of a forest management simulation something. It was going to be a three-dimensional game.
And that was one of the big blockers for us, was that we thought we would go down a 3-dimensional route. And that came from deeper and deeper. We talked about a lot of abstract concepts around that idea. One of which was, let's say that you find yourself in a forest, and in order to move forward through the game, you say go some depth into the forest, and come back with resources, and you go back out deeper into the forest because of you're stronger because of your resources that you gained, and then you iterate that forward.
So sort of like a twist on a roguelike game.
Yeah. And started down that route. I made some assets in Blender. Blender is a 3D modeling software. And made a little cabin, and I tried to make a person, and people are extremely complex and organic, and they're not just cubes and triangles. So
unless it's Minecraft, right?
Unless it's Minecraft. And we, within a few hours, came down to, I don't think this is the right way to go. The assets were pretty difficult to build. The game idea was still too nebulous to really lock down. And what we ended up going back to was an idea that we had originally talked about that came out of that first brainstorming session. And I made a joke, oh, we can get away with meeting the requirements for the theme if we have two characters named Deeper and Deeper. And from that, we talked about what would Deeper and Deeper do. It could be submarines, it could be mining. That's ended up being where we went, was towards like a mining game. And we were originally a little bit, we wanted to stay away from that originally because mining seemed like such a straightforward implementation of the theme. But when we knew that we had two characters, we started thinking about ways in which the two characters could be different and cooperative. And that is how the idea blossomed out of that. You know, we got off track. I was really glad that we were able to communicate when we thought, this original idea is not going to work. And then come back together, regroup, move forward with a different idea and clarify, lock that down.
Yeah, and we got a question from Sultan in the chat. How much sleep did you get last weekend? And this kind of actually ties in a little bit. So Friday evening, we had that brainstorming session, and we'd started to work on some 3D assets and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Thomas, you went to bed, I think, like 1 or so that evening. Mm-hmm. And I stayed up until 5 or something like that, working on like what actually is the gameplay here, trying to document it out. And I got some stuff in, but it was absolutely nothing that we could have done with the remaining, 60 hours or whatever. By the time we had to sync up on Saturday. So that is the point. Saturday, I think it was right around noon. Saturday, we had a meetup and we're like, okay, this is not a video game concept, at least not one that can be executed on this quickly. So we need to just totally switch gears. And we went back to that document, like Thomas said, and kind of landed back on the deeper and deeper thing. And I don't remember which one of us had the idea, but one of us had the idea of it's a controller, it's one controller and two characters, and it's like a co-op thing. So it's not just like, oh, there's two characters, it's deeper and deeper, but there's actually a mechanical reason for it to be that way.
Exactly. It started as a joke and it became something real.
Well, initially we were talking about them being like detectives, deeper and deeper.
Yeah, I liked that one too.
And it was some conspiracy. We had a lot of stuff on conspiracy theories and mysteries and an abandoned oil rig, all sorts of random stuff that you just kind of come up with when you're brainstorming, right?
I think the only blocker there is we need a really good writer. I think I would have needed to tie in my wife, who's a writer, if we were going to be successful there.
Oh, maybe we can get her on board next time.
Yeah, maybe.
So not to, I don't want to spoil it, but the shtick of the game is that you have these two characters, but in order to play them, and I did do this, you have to share a controller. So one person grabs the controller on the left side, your cooperative player grabs the control on the right side, and use your respective thumbsticks and buttons that you can reach to control your individual characters. And I thought that was a great concept. I mean, it felt like a lot of the Switch mini games, where they use the Joy-Cons in that kind of way. I thought that it kind of reminded me of that. What was funny was I asked Jess to help me, do some research for the show, and so I'm like, we got to play this game together. She's like, okay, do I need it's multiplayer, it's co-op. Do I need to install something on my iPad? No. And then so I reach over with the controller, and she starts to take it from me, and I just keep holding on.
Nice.
And we did play it through. We did win. Although I will say that in the time where you've just gotten a shot in one arm for your vaccine, not really ideal for holding a controller at an awkward angle.
Yeah.
Should have taken that into account, guys. Come on.
I know. We weren't thinking about all the edge cases. I was test playing it with a Switch Joy-Con, so I was able to separate them. I played through it with Sophia at one point, and we played with the keyboard, and that worked okay.
Yeah. And the characters, like you said, they have different abilities as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one character can dig and can illuminate the darkness with a headlamp. The other character can fight, and you have to use both skills to get to the end of the level. You have to fight off your enemies, and you also have to dig through the level in order to get to the end.
And we went with the name Dig Deep and Duel Deep. Those are the names of the characters. So it's the Brothers Deep is the name of the game.
That's right.
And I don't know. I love stuff like that because we didn't really plan it out in that way. Same with like the headlamp on Dig's on Dig's hat. That was something you drew that pixel in the sprite. I was like, oh, that looks like a headlamp, and you're like, oh, it is a headlamp.
It is.
Well, actually, I know exactly what to do with that, and I got to use Unity's 2D lighting system for the first time in this game, which is something I'd been wanting to use for a couple of years actually. And
I think
it worked out great. I think that was one of the big moments where I was like, oh, this is actually a good idea. As soon as I turned the lights off and just had that headlamp, I was like, yeah, this is actually really cool.
I think that's really what makes the game, what really ties the game together is that lighting work that you did where without that, like, I think it would feel maybe a little empty. And I would have never thought, because I didn't really know what's available to do, right? Coming into this as a newbie, I would never have stopped and said, hey, can we add this lighting? I don't know how hard certain things are to do. Can they be done within this scope? But to have that generative experience when you're cooperating with somebody and to have Paul say, hey, I think I can take your idea and stretch it a little further. And then I could do that back to him until we had something that I think is pretty solid, especially for 72 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thomas, can you talk a little bit about this ASCII? Sorry, not ASCII art. Can you talk a little bit about this this pixel art and your process for this? Because there was a great line that I saw fly by in your chat that said, "quote." I lost it. What did you say? You said, "This is a skill I did not know that I had."
Yeah, exactly. That was my feeling. So I've never really sat down to make pixel art before, but I enjoy working in Figma, which is, for anyone who's unfamiliar, it's similar to Sketch. It's a way to create visual assets, and it's really a vector-based application. It's not normally used for pixel art, but it's what I was used to. So I sat down and I scaled things to a pixel level, and I started drawing as though it were on graph paper. I blocked out 16 by 16 pixels, and I started laying it down. And actually, the thing that really helped me there, Paul sent me a great color palette, and I worked off of that. And having that limitation was really helpful. And I think in general, when you're working with pixel art, the thing that makes it so enjoyable is the limitation of, well, you have 16 by 16 pixels. You need to show something within that. I think going back to the experience of trying to build assets in Blender is incredibly
it's the opposite, right?
Powerful, right? But I could make anything. And to have, okay, well, this is your palette, and this is the space you have to draw in. And I really just started by laying out some of the things that I know from taking art classes about proportions, and also just watching a lot of, I like to see how people work. So I've watched things on how people animate, and it made them very expressive. It's actually, we originally thought that we would have to do more
like higher resolution.
Not quite higher resolution in the pixel art, but more frames in the animation.
Mm-hmm.
Take, for instance, the walking animation, which is only 2 frames going back and forth and back and forth. I started that off saying, okay, well, this is going to be the 2 extreme frames, and then we'll tween them. Tweening is the act of finding the images that would go in between the extreme ends of the animation. And it actually found that it felt kind of nice to just have those 2 animations going back and forth. It feels good. And then you can get a good sense of speed in that. The sword swinging and the axe picking or digging animation, there's 4 frames in that, but it takes the exact same amount of time as walking. So it actually feels faster.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of that kind of starting off thinking I'd have to push this further, but oh no, it actually feels pretty nice with just the 2 frames there.
That's cool. That's cool.
I was really impressed with with what you ended up with on the pixel art stuff. 'Cause like you said, you'd never done that before. Brand new to pixel art and the concept. And you whipped those out super fast. And they just worked. They all just worked. Like all your animations were totally usable right away, which was really cool. That's something I struggle with personally. Is getting all the animations right and doing that frame by frame kind of stuff, and you seem to take to it very quickly, which I was very impressed with.
Thank you.
I think the number of people doing pixel art and Figma, you can probably count that on one hand. I think that's
and
awesome.
The other
I think you can count that on one finger.
I know, right? The thing is, I didn't know that it was wrong, which is actually, I think, kind of a skill as you come into something as a newbie. And I've done this with other things before. I didn't know not to use Figma. So I was just like, well, this will work. And it worked great. But I didn't know not to. So, yeah.
I also like how there's a dimension to this game where you can play it with one person, right? Where you're one person controlling 2 characters. And that's a whole other challenge, especially if you're into, speed running or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like you can do that
was.
with,
I mean, that's pretty much how we played the entire game
Right.
during development. Obviously, it's 2021. We weren't in the same room or anything, and it was really just trial and error. We started with keyboard controls, and then kind of moved over to controller controls as the jam progressed. Controllers are absolutely, I think, the way to play this game, just because with the sticks and everything, it makes it much better, but.
I will say, pairing PlayStation controllers to and from computers and PlayStations is a real pain in the butt. So I appreciated only having to do it once.
Yes.
I kind of ran out of bullet points, guys. Here, where do you want to go from here?
We have those.
Well, there were some
from the
good
chat
questions.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, you wanna tackle those?
Sure. Why don't you ask those?
So, where are they?
In general, above the celebration of Sean's nuptials.
Oh, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. So, sorry, I was just reading these. I didn't see them in here before.
Nope, we got a cat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you want to talk about Unity and that choice? I mean. Just for people who don't know about it, Anthony was asking. So Anthony was asking about the tech stack for game development. We talk about web dev a lot on here. Anthony is web dev. How do you what does a tech stack even look like? How do you decide what tech stack you're going to use? What considerations go into picking it? Is there even a stack? Where do you even start with that?
I'll let Paul take this.
Yeah, I think this is Paul's alley.
Yeah.
So I've been using Unity personally for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, something like that. Not a ton, but a little bit here and there, and keeping up with the news and the updates and that sort of thing. And every major game I've made, I say major game, every larger, relatively speaking, game that I've made has been in Unity. I've done some messing around in JavaScript and other tools, but for the vast majority of the time, it's just been Unity. And why? There's a lot of tutorials. There's a lot of resources. There are a lot of assets that are designed to work with Unity, and a lot of third-party tools that are designed to work with Unity. It can deploy to pretty much any platform. So for Ludum Dare games, I always deploy to web, because basically the goal of that is to get the most people playing and rating it as possible. And well, anybody in Ludum Dare has a web browser, it's pretty safe to assume. So that is just a logical target, right? It's kind of just dependent on that. But Unity is great because, again, you can output to anything. You can output to a Switch, you can output to the web, you can output to native Mac and Windows binaries, you can output to iOS and Android. It's just super flexible, and C# is great. So why not use Unity?
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it comes down to for me. in terms of the stack for something like this, it doesn't matter because there's no integrations, right? A stack really matters when you get into integrations and deeper, larger scale things. But this is a 48, 72 hour game jam. There's no stack. It just, all that matters is that your output can run in a browser. And unfortunately, that is something we ran into issues with here, where Safari, the WebGL2 support is trash, and Unity will not deal with that trash. So you can't really run Unity games on Safari, for example. It's pretty much a Chromium only thing right now, and supposedly Firefox, although I couldn't get that working either. For a game like Booster's Big Neighborhood that I'm working on separately, and we discussed last time I was on the show, that is interacting with a bunch of other things. That's interacting with Firebase. That's interacting with third-party multiplayer game servers with Photon. And that's going to be interacting with more stuff in the future. It has to run on iOS and Android, and it has to integrate with social login on those platforms and all sorts of different things. And again, Unity just does all that stuff. If not out of the box, then there are many people who have built either open source tools or published blog posts, whatever it is you need to do. So for me, like with many things in programming, it comes down to the ecosystem, and Unity has a killer ecosystem.
And now Unity's not open source, but it is free up to a point, right? Or it's at least very affordable.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't remember the exact limits. It's over six figures a year that you have to be earning before you have to pay for it. And basically, the only limitation, if you're not paying for it, is it shows a made with Unity or powered by Unity splash screen when you boot, and that's it.
Okay,
it's pretty amazing.
Very accessible too, which helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And the tutorials, going back to that is huge. Like, even during this competition, I've been developing in Unity for years, and I reference tutorials to do stuff because things change in Unity. Things change in what people expect out of video games. Even like the way that people play and interact with video games changes over time too. That's not itself a static thing. And so yeah, Unity, pretty cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I'm a fan now that I've tried it. Gotten a taste.
Matthew in our Discord was asking about the differences between web dev and game dev, and I'll sort of expand that to ask about, like, we're sort of talking about the technical differences in stacks and stuff, but what about, I don't know, how you architect it, like things you prioritize on one versus the other, you know, what you get out of the box versus what you don't, like, or what kind of trade-offs do you have to make for writing a game that you don't have to think about when you're, you know, doing web forms?
Well, I would say that a game to me seemed, in terms of like web dev, much closer to front-end development, maybe like a React or a Vue application, rather than writing a back-end API. And the reason comes down to the amount of shared mutable state that you are working with. And a video game is a very stateful application. You have to know where the different characters are, what they have all kinds of secret values. Each character, both of the brothers have 10 hit points, and snakes do 4 damage, and you have to keep track of all of this state and pass it back and forth between what Unity calls scripts. There was an interesting discussion. I hit my watch. So there was an interesting discussion on Twitter that I participated in recently about, in Unity, someone was complaining about people calling C# a scripting language.
Ooh.
And I understand where the person was coming from, but I also understand where the Unity person was coming from, because Unity talks about the C# code as script files. And one of the early experiences I had working with somebody who their experience with development was purely in a game development environment, a thing that I found he was doing was writing a main function in his C# code, writing multiple main functions throughout an application, because in a way, each object in the game has its own main function that it's using to update state. But you don't think about things that way when you're writing other applications in C#. So it's very different. The syntax is the same, it's the same language, but the way that you think about it is pretty different.
Yeah, that's funny. And when you describe it being stateful, it's funny because in remote ham radio, like it's a lot of live state that's changing all the time. And it started off as a web application, but the more and more I developed it, the more I ended up going down the rabbit hole of reading articles about game networking and all that stuff, because it's the same problems being solved. Keeping things in state, doing smart diffing, being performant about it stuff, and yeah, that's really funny. And now that I'm doing more Phoenix and LiveView stuff, that kind of blurs the line, like what you were describing with the individual characters having their own main function. Well, that sounds like the actor pattern. That sounds like a gen server to me, right?
Exactly.
So it's fun to see how that comes full circle.
Yeah.
Personally, I gotta say, I don't find game dev and web dev all that different, especially like front end web dev. It's a lot of the same problems. You need to move a thing from point A to point B, and when it gets to point B or some other point along that line, you fire off a different action, and something else has to respond to it. The biggest thing is that for me, the biggest difference between game dev and web dev is that everything has to be fun and cool in game dev. Web dev, you can make something that's boring and works, and people will still love it. But a game can never be boring. It has to be fun and interesting. Like every single piece of it has to be cool in some way. And that is something that I really enjoy, that challenge. That's one of my favorite parts of game dev, is that like you can't just make a boring ass form. Like you have to make something that is cool and engaging and people actually like to use, because if they don't like to use it, it's not really a game. It's kind of just a tool, right? So it has to be fun and interesting. And I one way that I did that in this is I spent a lot of time on I guess it would be Sunday evening, drawing up like a little logo that would float above the playing area, and drawing out a controller diagram that actually integrated into the game world and displayed depending on whether or not you had a keyboard or a gamepad connected. And like those are really boring features that you could really just put in an instruction manual, but it wouldn't really be a video game, or at least not to my mind as much of a video game, if you did that. And so that's really one of the biggest differences. And what you're actually doing, it's the same stuff. Again, you're moving stuff around on a screen. You're moving lights on a screen. It's just the same stuff.
Yeah, you have extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. If you have gone to a website to perform a task, you're going to go do that task regardless because you have to, but nothing is keeping you in the game, especially when it's just in the browser, especially when it's free. People will just close it. Yep. So that was my moment of revelation, was when we were play testing it towards the end. And I was very nervous about what if this isn't fun? And I just exclaimed on this call with Paul. I was like, Paul, it's fun. It's fun. Thank God it's fun.
That's great. I love that take, Paul. I was not expecting that, but that's so true though. The biggest challenge isn't the technical one. It's the I don't know, the meta one.
Yeah, everything has to be polished and shiny and interesting. There's no just a text input. There cannot be just a text input by the very nature of the thing.
Well, I don't know, say that to online MUDs. Or like MMO, online telnet MMOs.
We had another question from Matthew that I really liked. I want to make sure we get to. In Ludum Dare, are there different categories between different ways to build a game from scratch versus game engine, for instance? And we talked about that a little bit already with the 48 versus 72 hours and the teams thing. But no, there are not really any rules in Ludum Dare about the technologies that you use, or even the medium. Like technically, you can submit a paper game if you wanted to, or even crafts. Like people just submit crafts because they get inspired by the theme to make something that is non-game related. And I really like that about Ludum Dare and that community. But even cooler than being able to submit just arbitrary things, I think, is the fact that they're not prescriptive about the technology, that they allow you to use Unity or just C if you want, or assembly, or it really makes no difference what the technology is. It's just about take this theme, and even with the theme, speaking of the theme, they're pretty liberal with it. Like they really don't. There's no rule that says you have to follow the theme. There is only a warning that says people who are rating your game may rate it more harshly if it doesn't conform to the theme, at least in some way. So they're quite good about that, and I really like that. I think the theme is really best viewed as just something to get you going on a game, because I don't think we would have come up with this. At least I don't think I would have come up with this if it hadn't been for the theme. So I think that's pretty important, and I like how relatively lax they are with the rules. I think that is a healthy thing in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a creative writing prompt in English, right? Like you can, same kind of idea.
Yeah, pretty much exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this cat, man. Jess, can you call him? See you later, bro. So
One other
predictable.
thing, one other route that I went down that I was very excited about from the beginning was making music for the game.
Oh
And
yeah. We need to talk about this.
I was happy with what I came up with.
I love
I
it.
really
I love
like it. Thank you. Good. I was so like overjoyed about it, and I got like one comment that's like, I don't really like the music, and I was like, oh no. But I made the soundtrack on an Arturia Microbrute analog synthesizer that my wife Sophia bought for me for my birthday, and
You should marry
so
her.
I would marry her again right now. Um, but you have the exact same synth. Yeah. Yep. The Mini Brute, I think, is one step up. You have two oscillators. I have one oscillator.
So this is a modern synthesizer, but all of at least the audio path is fully analog.
That's right. And you can output to um, an oscilloscope and see the shape of the sound. It's just making square waves and triangle waves. It's awesome.
Cool.
And I'm still at the stage with it that most of what I do is not intentionally good. It just, I can make things that sound good, not because I totally understand it. And what was funny is how quickly the sound for this game came to me. I knew I wanted to do a minor key. I knew I didn't want it to do too low.
Minor key.
Minor key? Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. MINER. Just because it was darker, right? I wanted that kind of feeling. So I took it's really just C minor.
Arpeggios,
And
right?
exactly. So C minor, and then I put that into what's the actual word for it? But oh, I have a motorcycle going by. Enjoy. Okay. I put that into the synthesizer, the pattern, and then just looped that, and then played with that, and also then moved it down a few steps and then back up just to give it a little bit of flavor. The thing that I did that was a mistake was I thought I would transpose. That's right. I transposed it down and up. And the thing that I made that was a mistake is I went and played out 10 minutes of soundtrack. And the root of that is that same thing that you hear when you play the game now. But I added over top a higher, like at a higher register, this kind of maybe abstract, jazzy, just to give it a little bit of flavor.
We'll put it in post.
Yeah, I output the sound, and it was as a wave file, something around 100 megabytes. That's too big. That's too big to ship to the browser.
It was too big for GitHub.
It was too big for GitHub. It was funny.
100. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was funny because GitHub complained because it was 100.93 megabytes when it should have been, and their limit is 100. So I shrunk it by a second, and then I could push it. But then Paul was like, it's too big for the browser. And he was right. So what I ended up doing is just looping about 90 seconds of sound. And that compressed as an MP3 is, I think, about 10 megabytes. Much more reasonable to put in the browser. Because the whole game itself, I think, Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the whole game itself outside the music is 80 megabytes.
I think we might be swapping bits and bytes somewhere, but generally it was like the wave was larger than the rest of the game. And the MP3 was like an eighth or something of the total.
Yes,
this is why Call of Duty is like 80 gigabytes now, or whatever they're up to now.
It's too big.
The assets, man, that's where they get you.
Well, it's all about the assets.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to talk a little bit about is the rating system that Ludum Dare uses, just because I think it is really cool and I think it should be talked about a little bit more. So first of all, one important aspect of the rating system is that only people who participate in the jam can rate other games, which is fantastic because then you don't get, popular streamers or whatever that have just a mob of people that go rate their games up, rate other games down, that sort of thing. So that keeps it honest in one way. But even more importantly than that, I think, is the idea of how games are sorted by default. So when you go to rate games, there are 1,000, 2,000 games that get submitted during this jam. And when you go to rate them, the way that they're actually sorted by default, I think, is extremely clever. There are a lot of issues with the Ludum Dare website, but it does have some very cool things, and this is one of them. Basically, the games that have the lowest rating balance appear first in the listing of games to be rated. And the rating balance is how many ratings that the author or authors have given to other games versus how many that their game has received. So you end up with they call it like a karma score. But your game won't get rated unless you rate other games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is pretty fantastic. So right now we're at 7 ratings overall. And there's a bunch of different categories, art and music and mood and all sorts of stuff. But to get a final rating, so there's 3 weeks of rating time where people are playing and rating other people's games. And in order to get an actual rank at the end of that, you need around 20 scores. So that's a huge incentive for everybody to go play everybody else's games, which is just such an important part of this, because it's so easy to focus on the 48 hours or the 72 hours of the jam, and then you just have thousands of games that never even get played once, which is just kind of sad. Whereas this way, you have a very small percentage of games, and there's even a filter actually within or a sort rather, to show games that have 0 ratings. So a lot of people go in and rate a bunch of games that have 0 ratings, and then hopefully everybody at least gets a little bit of feedback on their game and gets to grow and improve as a person and as a developer.
Is there a way to leave ratings that don't affect it? Can we come and support you with our, leave a little rating if that doesn't affect the score, or no?
I don't think so. I don't believe so. And I think that is as it should be. You can leave ratings, star ratings for individual categories as well as an overall, and you can also leave comments, which don't directly affect the score but do affect your personal karma.
Wow. So they gamified game ratings.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
That's really cool.
So, Paul, I'm interested. I'll turn the question to you now. What have you learned from this game jam that you'd like to incorporate next time you do a game jam?
Solo or on a team, or either?
Either.
I definitely liked having somebody else work on the art, because like I said earlier, that is something that takes me a lot of time. I enjoy it, like I have fun with it, but it was kind of nice to just be like, okay, this is ready, we can hook in animations whenever. and then it just was somebody else's
Works.
problem. That was kind of a cool thing.
That was great.
That felt really nice. It would be, I think it would be pretty interesting to try a larger team with like maybe 4 people, where somebody is specifically dedicated to sound effects and music right from the get-go. Somebody is dedicated to graphics right from the get-go. Somebody is just on programming. Somebody's just on story, and then those people collaborate. I think that could be super fun, and that's something I would like to try. I don't know. I talked a little bit about the Unity 2D lighting system. I really liked that, and I will absolutely be using that in the future. It is fantastic, and it was so easy to get up and running with. Oh,
Cool.
I think that's about it.
Maybe we can get a crew together from the Discord. We have many people in the Discord who have varied talents, all kinds of surprising backgrounds, and there's people in there who do a lot of web dev. There's people in there who have music backgrounds, looking at Anthony. So I think that there's a lot of space for some really smart and talented people to come together and make something great.
It is cool. I never even thought, like, when I think of being involved in a game jam, I just think straight just going to C#. I didn't even think about all the other crap they have to do and how valuable that could be to have someone just dedicated to that. I mean, that's how real games are made, right?
Yeah, totally. And we actually kind of skimped out on a couple parts of this experience. Like, it is pretty common to post a lot on ldjam.com itself. Like, they have a blogging functionality, and that is a really good way to get a bunch more eyeballs on your games. And we basically didn't do that at all. It just kind of didn't happen. And that's a really great thing to do. Honestly, there were several points during this where I was like, wow, I really just... I hadn't done a Ludum Dare since 2018, I think. So it'd been a couple years for me. And I was like, wow, I can really just bang this stuff out now. I wonder what I could do in a 48-hour jam on my own.
Yeah.
So that's probably something I'm going to try in the not too distant future again, just because it has been a while. And it's like, wow, I actually know Unity a little bit more now.
Yeah.
Which is a good feeling.
So you guys plan to do anything with the game now that it's quote unquote done? Or is that it? You just going to let it be what it is?
In terms of the competition, there's nothing else we can do to touch it. But it's hard to not think about, I wish we could do this. We have an
Just
entire
one more
different
feature.
Yeah, I designed an entirely like additional enemy that's like a robot mining little thing that could jump around, but it didn't make it in the game. There's like, I don't know about you, Paul, but I keep thinking, I was like, we could do that. We could do that.
You could probably do that all day, right?
Yeah.
I could probably do it for 72 hours or so.
Again, yeah, right.
I found out you could defeat the snakes just by putting them in a pit.
Yeah.
Yep. I personally, I feel like there is probably pretty easily enough there to make it into a full-fledged game that was released on Switch, for example. Whether or not that will happen, probably not. But it's an open source game, you know. Like people can go look at it, be inspired by it, and if they make something, that's awesome. If we make something from it, that's awesome too. But no immediate plans.
That's cool. So we'll post a link to the GitHub repo in the show notes.
You can pull that down. You can compile it. You can run it locally. It's all there. Assets, sprites, everything. So.
And you guys are using the full. You're doing PRs, which just blew my mind. Like, you had this short time period, and you're still dealing with GitHub PRs. Like, why wouldn't you just?
Which was funny.
Merge and stuff.
We were worrying about conflicts, and it was useful to do the PRs because you could see the C# code, but a lot of Unity. So say if you were to move in the editor, you were to move a character where the character would start. Well, Unity just encodes that as YAML. And unless you really know what Unity is doing under the hood, there were so many Git diffs where I would just go and look at the C# code. Okay, so that's what that's doing. Okay, this is how the character has health and how it responds when it gets hurt. Okay, that's clear. And then there was like 100 lines of YAML. Like, Paul, does it work? So a lot of it was you branch, and then at the PR, I would pull down the PR, run it locally, and Paul, you did the same, and see, okay, does it compile? Does it work? So, yeah, I did not understand all the YAML that was going on under the hood.
The PRs themselves, I felt like that was great, and the idea
Yeah.
of actually going through that flow, I didn't feel hindered by that at all.
No.
Cool.
The reason that we really wanted to stay that rigorous, though, is because I personally hadn't done anything in Unity with multiple people before. It was just me, just cowboy coding, right? And I was very concerned about that, but it actually worked out a lot better than I was expecting. There weren't a whole lot of conflicts. The ones that there were fairly easy to grok and fix. I was pretty impressed with it overall, especially given just how much YAML it is.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's great.
So much YAML.
I was waiting for you to say XML or something.
You could probably get it to output XML. I don't know.
Maybe a
The
Unity
whole
scene,
thing about
a
YAML
.unity file is literally just it's just a giant YAML file.
The whole thing with
Yeah.
YAML is it's supposed to be like human readable, and they just make these gigantic project files.
It may be
little bit.
human readable to someone else.
If you
Yeah.
can't pass a CAPTCHA, but you can read a YAML file,
Hmm.
you might be a robot. A digging robot.
Yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the enemies. Thomas, you mentioned that we had some other enemy thoughts, and you had that one design that was actually completed and ready to go. What we ended up with is 3 different variants of snakes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that worked out actually really great. It's a pretty fantastic enemy. So we have 3 versions, and the first one is just it's a green Koopa, right? It moves back and forth on a platform. If it sees an edge or a wall, it stops and turns around. And if it touches you, you get hurt. Second one, that's a red Koopa.
And you can't
we also
jump
have-
on them, right?
You cannot jump on them. You have to use dual sword attack in order to damage them. And then we
Well, you can
had
jump on
the-
them a couple times, and then you die.
Then you
Yes, that is correct. And we have like the knockback effect and the characters flash and stuff, which are pretty important. The game felt very weird without those, as they do, because there's just no feedback, right? Like just touching an
Yeah.
enemy and your health going down. You don't know. There's no way that you could know anything happened unless there is some sort of flash or some sort of visual indication. So that stuff like that is super important. But we had the green Koopa and the red Koopa snake. So they would either fall off ledges or not fall off ledges. And the green Koopa version of that is very useful for filling up a pit of snakes. And if you accidentally mine a block, they all spill out the side, that sort of thing. Whereas if you want a platforming challenge, you would use the red Koopa model. And then one of the last minute things that was added was this idea of a snake that spits fire when it sees you. So effectively all that is a couple ray casts out at the snake's face in front of it in sort of a cone shape. And if any of those hit anything, it shoots a bunch of fireballs. And that's pretty much it. And so we just had that one asset, recolored it a few times, and just slightly tweaked the behavior. And it was I think they're 3 pretty solid enemies.
Yeah. It was funny
The one
because
gets stuck on ledges sometimes because it doesn't turn around fast enough.
yeah, that one is tricky. I'd like to go fix that. But it was funny because I was working on the enemies and I was like, hey, Paul, I'm just going to go implement A star for pathfinding. And he was like, huh? No, just have them go back and forth. I was like, oh, okay. It was funny, too, because as we were developing the snake that can detect if it's at an edge or hit a wall and turn around, I don't remember exactly what I did wrong as I was developing it, but it would moonwalk. What it would do is it would fall down and then it would turn around and then it would move backwards. It was just great.
I love the idea of a snake with no feet just moonwalking backwards,
Yes.
moon slithering. We didn't know
Yes.
what the enemies were called. So we just immediately started calling them the Snaky Boys.
Snaky boys.
Snaky
Yes.
Boys. Yep.
I think in the game files it's just, is it snake? Is it red snake? And then is it savvy snake?
Savvy snake.
The one that doesn't fall off edges. I think you're muted, Paul.
I totally was muted.
Yeah.
It's snake, fire snake, and savvy snake. Yeah,
That's
and
right.
savvy snake acts like a red Koopa. It doesn't fall off ledges because it's savvy.
Yeah.
That actually goes back to to a question that Matthew had, what brings you the most joy when you're building a game? And it's absolutely the bugs. No questions, no doubt whatsoever. The bugs in game programming are hilarious and awesome. You will see amazing things where things just spin out of control or get gigantic or get tiny or just do things that you never would have expected in a million years. And it is hilarious. And I love it.
There was a great moment where Paul and I were on a screen share and I was coding and he was watching and we were doing the AI and I did what I would do, say for web dev, or say if I'm going to ship something to the cloud, right? If I have some complex algorithm or function, I'm playing it out in my head and I was walking through, it's like, if this is true, then this, and Paul's like, dude, just play it. If it's broken, it'll be hilarious. If it works, it's great. Just go play it right now. Like compile and run it. I was like, oh, like, cause I don't think like that when because the bugs are less fun if it means that, somebody doesn't get money or it means that like an important thing crashes. So, but in game dev, you can.
If a snake just spins around back and forth
it's great.
A bunch of times, it's just hilarious.
It's
There's no one's hurt, and it's just great.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is one of the very powerful things about Unity, and really any modern like JS game dev or anything like that, where you have that very fast iteration loop. I think that's one of the most powerful things in any type of development, not just games. Is being able to like, I have this idea. What happens if I do this? Okay, that didn't work. What happens if I do it this way? What happens if you can do that, if you have an iteration loop that's 5 seconds, right? Then you can just try 20 things a minute. That's a lot of stuff. That's not right.
Done.
That would be that's incorrect. That's not how the numbers work.
No one's catching your math.
But still, you can try a lot of things per minute, and that's what's really important. And that's actually what one of the difficulties I've had with game dev in the past with augmented reality dev, because if you have to actually go from Unity, do a complete Xcode build, and then do the Xcode build to the phone, and you're moving the phone around the real world, it takes several minutes. And if you're not very good at programming, like I am, then it's very difficult to not have that almost instantaneous feedback.
I remember I was working, actually speaking of iOS, I was working on an iOS app and I wanted to do a collection view where the icons, you can long hold and they would jiggle, jiggle mode. Except I think I maybe used radians instead of degrees, or I used degrees instead of radians, right, for the jiggle animation. And so I went and grabbed those icons and the things start tweaking out all over the screen. And I just about died laughing. I don't know what about it. Like you have there's this expectation of the way games and interfaces work, and we just take it for granted because games, the contract between the player and the game is like it's built off of this experience of playing games before. If I press jump, the character is going to jump. I can move on midair. If I let go of the jump, the character starts to fall sooner. Like all these implicit things that you come to expect, and if you don't do them, it feels so off, and you're like, why does that feel off? Like, what's wrong about this? I love that it just challenges all your assumptions about what it even is to like design a game and have to codify all those different things that you just naturally feel right, and then also break them if you want to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that I was surprised kind of coming in with my first experiences with Unity, I thought that you'd have to do a lot more boilerplate. Unity takes care of so much. Unity takes care of physics. Unity takes care of how light reacts, all of it. And I didn't know how much I should expect Unity to do, but it takes care of collisions, all these things that I thought, I'm gonna have to figure this out. Nope, done. Okay, keep going. Just here's your playground. Go have fun.
That's cool.
Unity's suite of first-party tools has gotten really, really good over the last few years. They have something called Cinemachine now, which lets you do really easy cinematic cameras and like following. So we have two characters, right? So the camera needs to account for where both of them are and make sure they're both in frame. That was almost all just drag and drop. There was very little code I had to write to do that. And the same thing, like Thomas was saying with things like physics. or even when we were trying for the 3D game, vertex coloring. They have something called what is it called? Not Pro Builder. Pro Builder is Pro Builder is their mesh building tool, so you can generate stairs and shapes and other geometry directly in Unity without having to go to a separate tool like Fusion. Or again, vertex coloring and coloring of models directly in Unity. And it's fantastic. It is truly an integrated development environment.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked a lot about Unity. How do people, if people are interested, how do they even get started in this? Like, are there any particular resources you recommend or techniques you use to kind of get into this? Thomas, well, Paul is starting. I think Thomas is more recent to this. To this.
I am. Though Paul gave me a lot of good resources, including videos that he had made. Well, at least one that about animating sprites, and the really good YouTube channel that I watched to get up to speed was Brackies. You can put that in the show notes. Am I saying that right, Paul? Brackies?
Yep.
Okay. Just going through and teach you Unity, the basics. A lot of these are tutorial based, where you're going to go through and you're going to make a small game. And that's how I got up to speed on it.
Yeah, Brackies is pretty much my go-to recommendation. Sadly, that channel is now defunct. However, many of the tutorials are still just as relevant as when they were published. A lot of that stuff is fairly evergreen. Obviously, things change with new Unity systems. They've introduced a new input system that isn't necessarily covered in some of the older tutorials, that sort of thing. But a lot of it can still be translated regardless. Honestly, I think the best thing you can do is just get in and start messing with Unity. Like, just make a cube fall on the ground, and then make a cube fall on the ground, but it changes colors, or like whatever. Just come up with anything and just start making stuff. Unity, and this is something I believe I said on the last time I came on the podcast, but Unity to me is so much like Photoshop when I was a kid, where it just opened up a whole world of new possibilities, and I didn't have anybody teach me how to use it. I just messed around with it because I had an idea, and I was like, I think Photoshop could help me out with this. I think Unity can help me out with this, and just kind of kept going along with that. But YouTube tutorials are definitely the way to go, I think. They're beyond Brackies. If you just search Unity game dev, or like even game jam games, you'll get a sense of how people are working with these tools, what they're building, kind of what the limitations are, and how you might actually get in there and make a video game yourself.
Yeah, I've looked at the Unity docs too, and they're, eyes start to glaze over at a certain point, but some of the introductory stuff does I think a good job of explaining sort of the motivation of why the APIs are the way they are, the updating of physics versus the updating of the screen. I forget what those two callbacks are called, right? Like the difference between that and considerations and all that kind of stuff. So the docs are there, and they're not, I don't think they're terrible, too. So that's another good resource that I found for my, tiny bit of experience that I've played around with it.
Yeah. I had the Paul escape hatch. I would go to the docs, read the docs. I'd work for a while and be like,
Paul, can we put your email in the
no.
Can you put your email in
Paul's email in there?
In the show notes?
Yeah, rockwellschrock@gmail.com.
Yeah.
We're getting on an hour here, guys. So, but this has been fun. It's awesome.
Great.
It's such a positive experience for you guys. It's cool to hear about the challenges and how you guys came back from that and made a game that honestly is pretty fun. If I could rate it, I would. It definitely deserves a rating.
Wow, that is really something to hear.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that much.
Yeah. This is the proudest I've ever been.
No, it was really fun though.
Well, thanks, Rockwell, and thanks for having us on. This was really fun to chat about in a little bit more depth. I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when is the next one?
Half a year
is
away?
in 6 months.
6 months?
About September-ish, I think, usually.
Cool. Cool.
Mm-hmm. City you remember.
There's another pretty big game jam coming up. I think in May. GMTK, Game Makers Toolkit, a pretty popular YouTube channel. They host a game jam. I know. I think a coworker is going to be doing that one. So pretty cool stuff. Lots of game jams out there. They're also all over itch.io. All sorts of people doing all sorts of games all the time. If this is something that sounds interesting to you, there are a ton of different ways that you can get into this scene.
Awesome. Well, before we go, any place where you gonna shout out things that you're doing, online presences of sorts? Why don't you go ahead, Thomas? Anything? How's that blog coming?
Well, I've written a couple posts. I have one more post I need to write that I've just been slacking on. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter is usually the hub of I'm Thomas Eckert _. There is a Thomas Eckert that is just Thomas Eckert. And he doesn't use Twitter, so I really want his username. What I have done is I've used the pattern for shadowing in Python to when you have two variables that need the same name. The pattern in Python is to put an underscore at the end. So I'm shadowing that guy. So oh well.
Okay. Paul?
Oh, if people need to find me, they'll figure it out if it's important enough.
We're on the Discord. Put a Discord in the link in the show
Mostly,
notes,
I
as
just want
always.
people to play the game. Honestly,
Yeah, go play the game.
Like,
Oh,
there'll be
yeah,
a link
well,
in show notes,
absolutely.
I hope, and check the game out. The Brothers Deep, and you can give it a play in any web browser. Whereby any web browser, I mean Chrome.
and bring a controller. Turns out there's controller support in Chrome natively. I didn't have to even set anything up. Who knew?
Well, I'll give another shout out, not to me or anyone I know, but gamepad-tester.com. Fantastic resource when you're developing games or just doing anything with controllers in the JavaScript Gamepad API.
I remember when, I don't know if this is still a thing, but MacBooks used to have a accelerometer in them when they had spinning disks, where they were originally intended so that if you dropped the MacBook, it would detect 0 Gs and it would park the hard disk head so they wouldn't crash when your laptop hit the floor. But for some reason, there was accelerometer support in the browser, so you could hold up your laptop and play Pong or Breakout or whatever kind of accelerated game. Those were the days, man, and thereby increasing the chance you're going to drop the damn thing. So
I know.
I love those are the days.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, as always, likes, comments, feedback. We love it. I'm on Twitter on Shrockwell. The show is DNC Cast. Where's my bullet points? We're posting the show notes that we've got a lot of them, got a lot of great links. Go check out the game. The links will be at dnc.show. And of course, we're streaming on Twitch and YouTube and Periscope every Thursday night, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, twitch.tv/DNCcast. And of course, there's the Discord. I'll say it one more time. It's a lot of fun. Really cool, smart people there. I think we should have a segment on the show where we shout out something cool that's happened in Discord in the past week with something that someone cool has been working on. I think that would be a fun little. We keep talking about trying to do these, structured segments that we redo. Yeah.
And
So-
always check out Rockwell's YouTube channel where he reviews mixed drinks on the rocks with Rockwell Schrock. It's a great channel.
Coming soon to a feed near you. It's just me drinking rum and cokes.
Just
Well, awesome, guys. Thanks so much. This has been fun.
all right. Thank you.
See you in the chat.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
All right. Awesome.
Where do you want this audio file, Rockwell?
Oh, I will also drop you a link there.
Beautiful.
Stand by. I don't really have a whole spiel that I send out to people.
I've seen the spiel. It's okay.
a link.
Let's go.
Hello, chat.
And is there anything in the Discord? C# is scripting language. It is not a scripting language. But
Oh yeah, we should have mentioned that Unity gives educational institutions
Yes.
free licenses. Should have mentioned that.
Pretty nifty.
Hmm. Good job, Unity.
Cool, guys.
Put this here.
Whoa, whoa,
Whoa.
whoa.
Audio.
Yeah, I know you've been asking for help with this, Paul, forever. And here you guys get excited about it, gets me excited about it. Now I kind of want to help out.
See, there's a theory about this, right? It's the second person to join a group. You're the first person to join the group, right?
Like the bystander effect, or like
Mm-hmm.
the opposite of the bystander effect? I don't know.
It's this is 275, yeah? 273?
273.
Okay, good. Last time I was on it was 236.
Damn, almost a year ago.
It was, yeah.
Paul, twice in 1 year.
I don't know. I'm getting back up to my own numbers here. 722.
Okay, I'm saving the raw, and then I'm also gonna
Cool.
take out the background noise. And
Have
I
you
for
guys
sure
played?
recorded that as an MP3, and I apologize, Rockwell.
That is totally fine.
It's 256 kilobit, so.
That is acceptable.
I'm doing WAV or wave. What do you call it? WAV.
Wave.
WAV.
I've never heard
W-A-V.
WAV, but I kind of like it.
Who says
WAV.
WAV?
Well, how would you say it?
Wave. Yeah.
It's
Wave
W-
files. WAV.
It's the
Because it's a wave.
WAV.
It's a wave. And also it's like
That's not what it means.
That's the header.
is.
The
Really?
header of the file is literally like the word wave. Like that's how you know it's a wave file, I think.
Okay. The
Waveform
waveform audio file
file
format.
format.
Yeah, okay. It is.
now-
I'm
but-
wrong.
Now I'm questioning because I've only seen it in all caps. Is it an acronym?
It's not. No, it is not.
No, it's just
I think it would have been WAVE if at the time they were only doing
yeah.
3 letter. That's why you see HTM
It's an
and
MS-DOS thing, yeah.
yeah,
Just
YML.
generally DOS.
Yeah, but it had a lot of kind of, even after people were using DOS a lot, there was hanger-ons.
But yeah, if you look at a wave file in hex editor, the first like 24 bytes, just the word wave.
Huh.
With an E?
Yes, with an E. The E is canon.
Cool. I'll have to open it up in hex editor. That's cool. I've never done that.
I know that because I had to recently take raw audio samples with web audio and write them out to disk as a WAV file.
Cool.
Writing raw binary.
Oh man.
It worked. So
Sure. I have to share this on the Discord. Somebody wrote an entire operating system just to run Tetris, and like basically created Tetris, but the only thing that they assumed existed was the BIOS. And then
Interesting.
everything after that they handled.
Tetris OS.
That's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
That's what the video's called. Yeah, I'll share it.
Put that.
I think
throw
I've
that
seen
in-
that recommendation pop up a few times over the last day.
It's pretty great.
I haven't
Yeah.
watched it yet. Check that out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'll put that in our chat if you can post it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
JPEG versus JPEG.
JPEG versus JPEG.
Yeah, what do you guys use for JPEG extensions? Three letters or 4 letters? 3 letters.
I guess. Yeah. I never think about it though.
Or HTM files?
I never do HTM. Getting anything Apple tomorrow morning. I think I want to get the MacBook Pro when they put whatever the next M version chip in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, based on
Yeah.
last weekend, you could use a new computer.
Hey,
Wow.
It
yeah,
was struggling, my dude.
it was struggling. You're not
Audio
wrong.
issues and progress bars.
Yeah, I know. I thought, oh, have a laptop. It'll be great. You can take it to the coffee shop and stuff like that.
Oh, that was one thing we forgot to mention. Paul, you're on a Mac, and Thomas, you're obviously on some Windows piece of crap, right? Hey, I'm censoring
Um,
myself here.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I'm running on a Dell XPS.
That's awesome that you guys were again like Unity, the cross-platform thing is just so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
The development
even the
experience.
UI looks the same. Yeah,
I don't
That's
think we had
funny.
a single
not
cross-platform
at
issue
all.
other than just the audio stuff on your end. Yeah.
You didn't even put any .ds_store files in the repo, so I
I made
appreciated
sure to
that.
add that to the get ignore with the very first
Yeah, I
commit.
know. It's funny. I have old repos where that's happened, and now I see it, and I can always tell. I'm like, oh, oh, yeah,
Oh,
oh,
you tried.
you try. Oh man, I don't know. I like Windows for dev. I usually do most of my dev in WSL, and yeah,
Mhm.
obviously I work for Microsoft. We make Windows is one of the things we make.
What? I
Yeah,
thought you guys you mean Office. You guys make Office.
we do make Office. We make a lot of things.
Less and less every day. More just Azure.
No, Azure's a lot. Azure's gigantic. A different WSL bug. I'm sorry. I haven't had any bugs with WSL, but maybe I'm not pushing it hard enough. Well,
Yeah, I'm also waiting for that M1X/M2
exactly.
something. I don't know. Rumors say maybe WWDC, maybe fall.
Didn't you
can't
see
get
the
my hopes
video?
up,
It was
man.
confirmed. It was confirmed.
Yeah,
in the video.
confirmed. All caps confirmed. If it's
Love
on the
it.
internet, it must be true.
10-minute video.
Oh yeah, this is great. This is great.
You swappies.
Wow.
An old family friend of ours.
7.
Windows 98. They had to get he has Napster
Mhm.
MP3s and photos on there that he had to get off.
Why?
Wow.
Why did he still have those things on a Windows 98 computer? That's over 2 decades.
Why upgrade? I don't know.
Huh? That's impressive. I mean, if the computer is still in use, that's pretty amazing.
My grandfather has been running just on a Dell tower for maybe like the last 15 years, and it does exactly what he needs it to do. And when we started everyone using Zoom, everyone using video chat, he fired it up and he's like, oh, I don't have speakers on this machine. Right? Because everything has speakers now, but this is tower. It doesn't have any speakers. His
PC speaker,
monitor doesn't
maybe.
have PC screen. Yeah, it could like beep. But yeah. Like, oh, I don't have any speakers. I'm gonna need those. I'm like, yeah. Helpful.
That's fascinating. Just the idea, like that's totally how it was back
Yeah,
then. Like,
exactly.
If
It was,
you wanted
yeah.
sound, you had to explicitly get stuff to make sound. But
Get a Sound Blaster.
it's just so backwards sounding now. Like,
It
what
is
would
funny.
you even do with a computer that couldn't output sound?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, it's yeah.
lots of stuff actually.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like
Oh,
I've been
yeah,
watching
it's so
I've been
funny.
watching a lot of Lazy Game Reviews, LGR, on YouTube,
Yeah.
and he's getting deeper and deeper. Like he's always been into retro Sound Blaster sound cards and ad lib and all these other things I've like never heard of or thought about, and also MIDI. And like it's a whole thing because like that was like that was an arms race back in the day, was sound capability, and like we take it for granted with our little ADC chip that fits in a freaking headphone connector. Like that's probably has better performance than any one of those gigantic cards. But like
Oh yeah.
what a world that was.
I remember getting we got a Sound Blaster card and a Gravis joystick that came with Commander Keen 4, which was one of my very first video games ever, and I played the
Awesome.
hell out of that game.
That's awesome.
You got
Playing
you got
a platform
great
with a
sound for that
joystick.
Sound Blaster. Yeah, it's a very
yeah.
weird game to include. It was like it was truly a joystick, like a
Yeah.
Yeah.
not a pad or anything. It was a stick, and it shipped with a platforming game. Don't know why. Just that's what they sent you.
Sure.
Because you didn't really have game pads on like MIDI game ports at all. Really, it wasn't really a thing.
I had a Microsoft Sidewinder in the late '90s. That was an actual. It was one of the first computer game pads that I had.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was just like I think it was just like a Super Nintendo controller, basically, in terms
Yeah.
of buttons. But yeah, modern gamepads, we are blessed to be able to just
Truly.
hook those up right to our browsers.
I didn't realize that I could hook a Switch controller into my computer at all. And then Paul was like, "Can you test this with your Switch controller?" I was like, "I guess I can. I didn't know I could, but I can."
Just Bluetooth?
It was really easy. You just Bluetooth. You go into the
Wow.
Bluetooth. There's a button on the Switch controller. You hold that button down, just like if you're pairing anything else, and it works great.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. Switch controllers, PS4, Xbox, even the new Xbox controllers, work fantastically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy world we live in now.
I also just love the idea of single screen co-op games, like
Yeah.
making a comeback. I don't know. I've seen it, Overcooked, right? Is super fun. Your guys' game. I mean, I remember we used to play, my friend and I used to play one of the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, I think. And I think it was split screen. And like we would crowd around his computer and one person would get the keyboard, one person would get the joystick, right? And like that's a whole experience, or, split screen on N64 and stuff. Like you can't beat that local co-op, man.
Couch co-op's the best. It's so good.
Yeah. I can't believe it. I'm so sad that it's been going away. I'm glad it's coming back, but
Yeah, the controllers work on the Mac as well. Yeah, my PlayStation controller just synced right up. Yeah.
And now it works with iOS too. You can use an Xbox controller on iOS with an iPad. Absolutely.
Yeah. Booster's all set up for that. It works on iOS and Android. Just Xbox controllers, PS4 controllers. It was like half an hour of work.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's wild.
How's Booster coming, by the way?
Yeah.
So damn close, man.
Yeah.
I just need to put in a bit more time.
I don't remember what you promised for a launch date. If we passed
April
it or not.
23, so I'm a little bit further over.
Oh, okay, but that's not that bad.
But you
I
were
think
busy
I'm going to
making
be
Ludum.
around May 23, like a month late. But that ship date will be for both iOS and Android, and I was originally shooting for iOS first. So I can't be mad about that. And I've also like completely slacked off for the last month and a half or whatever.
Yeah, geez, what are you doing? Just making games in 4 days?
Just having a job, Getting a truck.
Got truck.
Yeah, the truck. Oh my god, I'm so jealous of the truck. The truck is awesome.
See you, Sultan.
See you.
See ya.
Invincible. Yeah, I need to go back to work on the OpenAPI editor because I added the ability to submit feedback, and I've already gotten 2 feedback messages of like, this doesn't work. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work. I'm not done with it. But I wanted to ship. I wanted to use the whole like, I don't remember who said it, but I learned it from this podcast, working with the garage door open.
What does that mean? Like
people can
inviting
see what
people
you're
to just
doing.
come by and yeah.
Knock your stuff over. Yeah.
I actually had to do I was working on a open API spec for a thing that I'm working on, and it was. I'm sorry, I should have used your thing. I will go. I should just go.
No, it doesn't work
play
yet.
with it. Oh, it doesn't even
work
function.
No,
It was just
Rockwell was one of the people complaining.
Yeah.
you go to the site, motivate me. You can offer feedback and just say does not work.
I just used VS Code and just used a little preview panel on the right side, and that worked out okay.
Yeah.
Not a great experience though, but because it flashes while you're updating, and Open API is a whole thing. 3.0 are you supporting 3.0 or 4.0, whatever the newest one is?
I'm gonna initially target. So the way that I approach this is, I wrote a type, right? Like, because it's TypeScript that encompasses the OpenAPI 3.0.3 spec. That's the latest. And then I'm going to write functions that can go from one to the other and, output different versions depending on what you see. But there's nothing there yet.
Okay.
Really, except for you can go and give feedback and yell at me to get it done. Ship it.
The best motivation.
Yeah. Oh, good. So do you think playing Did you get closer or further away from Jess by playing the game co-op?
So,
Oh no.
Jess and I are both very competitive people. And sometimes we have trouble playing cooperative games. Seems counterintuitive, I know. Seems like it should bring you closer together. But no, it was fine, but
Okay.
like once was enough. And we're like, okay.
Yeah. For the sake of our marriage, let's just close the browser.
I mean, yeah, just experience with like again, what's it called? Overcooked. So much yelling. Like it's well-intentioned yelling, but it's a lot of yelling.
Yes.
That's good. That makes me happy that there's a lot of yelling. Actually, like that's kind of a little bit of what I was going for.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I kind of felt that Digger. I think he's kind of OP because he can do two things, right? He's the flashlight and he can dig, whereas Sword Guy can only sword. I'm sorry, I'm not using the names.
But you can only get maybe.
Like you can beat the
Fair.
game without swording if you just jump around.
Yeah.
I think the level design is really a weak point. We didn't
okay.
have a whole lot of time. The entire level design was done within the last 90 minutes, and we spent probably only 60 minutes of those on it.
Right.
It was not much time, and there are some things like the end of the level where you're digging down just before you get to the final room and the last flag, where you can just bypass all those enemies. You can just dig straight down the side and
Oh
it's
yeah, but
totally
if you
fine.
knew it was
Like,
there, yeah.
yeah, but I think there are a lot of things in that vein in the level where it's just like this. If this was thought through better, you would have to cooperate more and more puzzles and that sort of thing. Like actually turning it into more of a game instead of just a tech demo.
We had looked at one point of maybe giving the dual character more power, like maybe you could jump further or you would be
Yeah, I thought about
stronger
the
or something
jumping
like
thing
that.
too. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really just a technique, not that it's impossible, but it was a time limitation of
sure.
having to go and implement it. So
Yeah, and like you said, the level design has to accommodate like each character has to have their time to shine and like
yeah.
you know, like any of those co-op kind of things. Portal 2 and whatever.
But imagine if we'd had somebody who, like, I don't know, 36 hours in, just switched to level design, right?
Oh, it'd be great.
Yeah,
Would have been
right.
fantastic. Like
Right.
that
Yeah.
it would have been so much better. We would have had several different levels. They could have been shorter and tighter, and just better. But you know, it is what it is. It's a game jam. It's part of the fun.
I spent like 2 minutes thinking about the concept, and the concept I came up with was an inverse platformer where you're kind of jumping down,
Ooh.
and it's not like just that gravity's up, but like there's platforms and there's like a flow of air coming up from the bottom, and so the platforms kind of like block the air, and so like you have to figure out your way upside down through the level because you can't. It's pushing against you, so you have to kind of like you can only jump where the air is blocked or something. I don't know. That was my idea.
That's pretty cool, man.
Kind of
Could've done
physics-based
that.
thing.
Sounds like you should play game jam.
Yeah, I think you should join next time.
I'm an
Yeah.
ideas guy.
Everyone needs an ideas guy. Well,
Um,
good.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm glad I got to come on again. And
Yeah, man.
I think if there's a third time, I'll buy a better mic.
You think Sean's ever coming back?
He's just blissfully off, and
He didn't even say anything in the chat. He just popped his
he's
head in.
married
we
now.
did instantly tell him to leave.
Yeah. He needs to go and be married.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
he needs to go enjoy his new mother-in-law.
That's not what. Okay.
Um,
All right.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you guys later.
I think your print is done, Paul. It
All
looks
right.
like your print is done. So
My print is done. Yeah, I'm gonna finish
Yeah.
assembling.
oh yeah, what are
finish
you
assembling this
working
guy.
on?
It's just a little machine clamp, machine vise. Yeah.
super cool.
Those look like those little things that be used to like hold watches while you take them apart. Like they have
Yeah,
similar
pretty much.
things.
I just
Yeah.
want it for soldering, just an extra hand, you know. Hold the piece.
Wait, so you got the Metal Lab job? You never mentioned that. Kid Queb in the chat?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I knew that he was interviewed. I didn't know he had gotten it. So
Oh.
hey,
Said he'll
I
be
get
in
to
the office
congratulate.
Friday?
Don't do that.
He said he was off tomorrow. What's this
No,
guy?
he
What's this
should be
guy
off.
on? What's he doing?
Who knows?
What's he doing?
He's the one who's talking about work-life balance.
Well, Sean was funny because he texted me last week. He's like, "Yeah, going ring shopping." I was like, "Oh, you're gonna propose?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, we're just gonna get married next week." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Sure, we get the whole DL next week.
Yes, that should be the subject next week. Mm-hmm.
What's that?
It's just
Oh, the topic. Yeah.
the topic.
Yeah.
Sean's gonna Sean. All right,
Three non-Seans.
three
What is that
three
song called?
non-Seans.
I really feel like that was a missed joke, a missed follow-up joke.
Is it 3 non-blondes or is it 4 non-blondes?
Yeah, three non-blondes.
4 non-blondes is actually, and it's called "What's Up." The song is called "What's Up."
What's up? So three non-Seans, and the song is.
Oh yeah, actually, Sophia's calling me out because I proposed without a ring, so fair. The ring was delayed in delivery, and I proposed with a full trip down the East Coast after, so we went from down through Pennsylvania, saw my grandparents, went to DC, went down to Chincoteague Island where they have all the horses, and I proposed on the beach. But I planned that trip, and I'd also planned the ring to be finished and arrive, and then this one was delayed. So it actually arrived.
It's a race
2 days.
condition.
Exactly. So then, I proposed on the beach in Chincoteague without a ring. So, I mean, it worked.
I'm still waiting for someone I know to propose with a ring pop. I think that'd be.
Someone in particular, or just someone?
No, just in general, like proposing with a ring pop. No, it's not. It's not a hint. Like nudge, nudge. No, just
waiting
just
for someone to
remember
propose.
ring pops. Like, yeah,
That
they're
would be
ponies,
funny.
not horses.
Oh, I'm
Chincoteague
sorry. At
ponies.
Chincoteague, they're ponies. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What is size is the difference?
No, they're just ponies. Are
They're
not
like a
ponies
pony?
are not small horses.
Oh.
Ponies are ponies. I don't know the
Ponies are
difference, but
Okay. Cool.
Wikipedia says a pony is a small horse. That's the first. That's literally the first thing it
all right.
says.
All
A
right.
pony
Well,
is in the
I mean,
set
they
of
could
horses.
be wrong. It's Wikipedia after all.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, yeah, Chincoteague was great. Apparently, the ponies ended up out there because of tax evasion purposes in the colonies. You would be taxed on owning a horse, and people would just keep their horses out on this island. Ponies are meaner. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I think you can let her out. So I guess so. We have Winona is
pet of the
whining.
show.
Yeah, if you let her out, that'll be fine. So I don't know.
This is the longest way around that this conversation could have.
Yeah.
The highest bandwidth, lowest latency.
Go into the space.
It's going to space.
I'll just go open the door.
Sitting on a chair in the sky.
Come on, man. Yeah, that's a good girl.
Oh my god.
That's a good girl. She was sad.
Could get Winona
and
up
she
here
wants some water.
on the stream.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let her have some water because she's thirsty, and then I'll grab her.
She named after Winona Ryder. I have to ask.
She's a lowrider. Oh.
I don't know any other Winonas, so.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Here we go.
Look at this.
Oh, kisses. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty cute. I think I can hear Sophia laughing. And she's sleepy. Yep. And you need some more water. We went on a fun little shopping trip yesterday and got a new toy.
Stay hydrated, Winona.
Yeah. Let me go get her some more water.
A Spanish galleon broke up and the ponies were wild. Now we're getting a couple different theories about the Chincoteague ponies. Stay tuned next week
This should become
We solved the
we need a
mystery of the
spin-off
shifting ponies.
podcast that's like Serial. It's
Yeah.
like
We need to go there now. We need to be
ponies
on site.
on a small island off the coast of Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula. There's ponies, something you might not expect.
NPR, we're waiting for the check. Let's go.
There's a banjo in the background. In a small town, we talked with the sheriff about what really goes on Chincoteague Island.
What's the difference
What's it
between a pony
Pony.
and a horse?
There's
Scientists
two
still don't
factions
know.
of people in this town, and they haven't agreed for years. Many families broken up. Factions of people who just won't talk to each other because one likes ponies and one likes horses. I'm Sarah Koenig.
Is a pony a small horse? But it's not like a pony grows up to be a horse. It's not like a bunny and
Well,
a.
I'm not getting any bigger either, but I'm a small human.
You're a pony human.
You don't have. You can just be as small at your full size.
Mm-hmm.
That's allowed.
It is allowed. Yeah. Yep. Hi, how are you?
14.
Okay,
A
hey,
pony is
hey.
typically under the height of 14.2 hands high.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a pony's a horse. I'll have to issue a retraction next week.
It's like rectangles and squares. A square is a rectangle,
Yes.
but a rectangle is not a square. Yeah, that's
Yes.
what I'm
So I need a UML diagram.
saying. Exactly. Oh my god! Please no. Fig jam.
Number of legs, integer.
See, I just think of the mathematical notation of like is in the set of.
Yeah, subset. Yep.
Yeah.
Backslash in.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can go back to so I can take Sophia back to Chincoteague because we're moving there. Well, we're moving to Nova, Northern Virginia, pretty soon. It's
Oh, is that where you
incredibly
landed?
soon?
Villanova?
No, not Villanova.
You said
Nova
Nova.
is I know. Nova is how some people pronounce or say Northern Virginia. Nova.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And Sophia is going. I'm reading the chat right here, and we're gonna. Sophia's going to George Mason University. I'm very proud of her, and we found a great townhouse.
Awesome.
Yeah. So very excited. We move in just under 2 months.
Cool.
So
I'm a little for
go ahead.
I don't know. I'm sad you're not coming out this way. That's all.
I know. I am disappointed. Yeah, but I'll be much closer. So yeah.
Be hanging with the ponies.
No, I'll come up north. I have family. I think we could maybe end up in Boston sometime. That sounds like a place that has a lot of.
That's
What
right.
a
I
gravity.
live near Boston.
I know you don't live. Yeah, but not that far from Boston.
No, it's really not.
No. Amherst said no. Yes, I wasn't going to say it, but
Oh, okay.
yes, they said. They said that they were not worthy of Sophia's talents, and
Yeah.
so no. I understand they felt very humbled. Sophia is going to do her MFA in creative writing.
Sweet.
Mhm. So very psyched about that. And she gets to teach. And she's going to be everyone's favorite professor.
She can write all the dialogue for your next Slow and Dare game. Be very dialogue
Yes.
heavy.
Yeah. If she wants to.
Twine game,
Yeah.
all dialogue based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She definitely has the talent to do it. Yeah. Well, we can. Her students will, as an assignment. Yes.
Oh, crowdsourcing. I like it.
Do you know Sophia? I'm really excited. She gets to take in the fall fiction podcasting as a class. Yeah. Isn't that cool?
What a world. What a world.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
Podcasting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I'm going to use it as an excuse to buy a lot of nice podcasting equipment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right, guys. I got stuff
Take
to do.
care.
All right.
All right.
Thanks again,
Good night.
everyone.
Thanks, chat.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye. All right. It's just me now. I guess we're going to end the stream. Thanks again for everyone for coming by. This has been a lot of fun. We'll see you next week. Bye.